My name is Mike McGuire. I am a professor of communications here at Moraine Valley. Today I'm here with students from my Composition 1 course, which is a course that not only introduces students to college-level writing, but also challenges them to think critically. This semester, my students have been focusing their writing and thinking on the aims of education. This subject is appropriate in that most students who have come to this class have been deeply immersed in institutionalized schooling for at least 12 years of their young adult lives. They have grown up in school in large part, indeed most of us have. When we are drenched in the normalcy of shared experience, it is easy not to question it, not to examine it. And so this semester we have taken that as our charge, to direct our critical thinking in this direction of education. Towards that end, my students and I have used an approach called deliberative dialogue. Deliberative dialogue is a face-to-face method of interaction where small groups of diverse individuals come together to exchange ideas and opinions about a particular issue that they all care about. It is a form of guided discussion aimed at finding the best course of action. For this dialogue, we made use of an issue framework from the National Issues Forum, which had us ask the question, how should higher education help us create the society we want? With this project, I've really booted my students into the deep end here, asking them to contend with some of the big issues that plague higher education and our society overall. I've challenged them to articulate their ideal vision for our society and to think about the role education would play in creating it, to contend with the many obstacles that get in the way of such ideals, and to propose specific actions towards positive change. All of this through a few short weeks of research, writing, and dialogue. As much faith as I have in my students, I recognize that the expectations I have laid upon them here may have been somewhat unrealistic. I mean, to solve the issues that plague higher education. That's asking a lot, don't you think? Yes, okay. So we're not here today to get absolute answers to problems. It would be unfair to expect this, but it would also be unfair to expect that these students have little more to share today than the product of a mere classroom exercise. One of the rules of the deliberative dialogue process is to listen for meaning, not flaws. Every person has value in the authentic point of view he or she brings to the conversation. While you might hear students struggling somewhat today with their understanding of complicated issues and their ideas for action, I challenge you all to listen not for flaws, but for meaning. Listen to these students, listen for what they have to teach and what they have to learn. And after these presentations, I hope that we can enter in conversation together to learn more from one another. Without further ado then, I will invite our first student group to come on up. Matt and company, come on up and share with the audience your views on higher ed. There's three more and you have to turn them on.
I don't think it's on.
Push the button.
The red one? Hello, my name is Michael Lupa. This is the rest of my group. I'm Matt.
I'm Franny.
I'm Amber.
I'm Jennifer.
And we found that a big issue and a core problem in universities and Moraine and community college is that too many kids walk from their car to class and back again without ever looking again, looking around to see what's going on around them. And the real issue and what we think is the problem is that there's a lack of student ownership in their education and a lack of the use of student voice. This is a big issue because student voice is a huge problem. For the first time, a lot of students are making financial sacrifices to go to college and to do all these things, but it seems that in high school, students always join clubs and organizations and everything, but in college, when you're making that financial sacrifice, it's not there. And that's almost counterintuitive You'd think it'd be the other way around. So last year, we have a student student trustee on the board here. His name's Kareem Awad, and I don't think a lot of students know who he even is. I didn't until I started doing research, and that's a problem. That's an issue. He's our student voice in everything that's going on around us, and he's the one pushing our ideas. And if we don't know who he is, then that's an issue. 7% of students voted on him. 7% of students voted, period, in the election to put him up as our student trustee, and that's an issue. According to the National Survey of Student Engagement, inactive student involvement is directly linked to student success. And as administrators, students, and everyone here is in education community, we need to ensure that we don't just create a campus here, but a culture that enhances the future and everyone else's education.
So really what we're looking to do here is we're calling on students. We want our students to become more proactive in their school, their education. I mean, that's on us. We need to seize it. The thing is, there are tons of ways for us to do this already, and not many of us know about them. Our school equips us with so many opportunities to become involved. We have about 38 clubs and 9 cross-school organizations. Each of these clubs are something that gives you a voice. It gives you a group of people that you become a part of, and you can actually address the school and problems and things that you need done. The school also provides us with a newspaper. Our paper is called The Glacier. It helps to inform us on current events and issues that everyday students face. And as Mike mentioned, we can also write and meet with our student representative, Kareem Awad. Not many people do this. In fact, only 7% of our students actually voted in the last election. So out of all the students at this school, 7% of them voted. Not voted for Kareem, but were even active in this election at all. That's a big gap that this school is not filling.
Social media is one way for students today to become more aware. One idea that we had was for an online bulletin board to be created where students can post about their concerns and administration can filter through them and respond. Moraine does take efforts to participate in social media. They do have a Snapchat, but it doesn't really post anything of any significance, and it just seems a little cheesy.
To tie into the social media, in May of 2012, there was a Twitter hashtag made by a group of students who were tired of not being involved with their schools. Their main purpose is to just explain their frustrations and try and advocate each other on how they can go about it with their schools. The hashtag is StuVoice. And after this whole started, it ended up catching the attention of parents, teachers, presidential electees, and now they're talking about ways on how they can benefit each other and involve everyone into the whole student body.
Okay, we are all required to take a course called College 101, which we learn about diversity, time management, which are important aspects of college life. But we feel that this course would or should empower students to be more proactive and also get students to take ownership.
All right, and that's a wrap on our presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and hope to raise student voice in the future.
Mine's not working.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
So our issue is higher education is really expensive, and we don't feel like that it's affordable for everyone, and we don't feel like everyone can get an equal opportunity at it because of money, and that's pretty unfair. So everyone should care about higher education because it affects future college students, it affects current college students, and anyone that has to pay for it, such as your parents or grandparents. So it affects everybody, basically. Another big issue with the money is colleges are giving a lot of money to their athletic programs and not really focusing on education. According to the American Institutes for Research, the median athletic spending for institutions in the top-tier Division I schools was $92,000 per athlete in 2010, while median academic spending per full-time student was less than $14,000. So that's a pretty big issue. That's like 6 times the amount is going into athletics instead of education. I don't understand why colleges are spending so much on athletes instead of students, because only 1.6% of college football players go to the NFL, and only 1.2% of college basketball players make it to the NBA, according to the NCAA official website. A lot of money gets put into those top 1% players that will make it, but they aren't the future of this country. The students are, and we need to make sure that our students are getting educated, so our future is, so our country is ran better by our future students.
Though that is a big issue, there are a lot more in this world. Another one being the cost of tuition. Now, of the American people who graduated from a 4-year university, 2/3 of them end up with some form of student loan debt. And with the constant rise of student loans, this, making tuition more expensive, this leaves less and less people the opportunity to receive an education that they want, and so they can graduate and have a job that they want. But the people that do graduate, since they're in debt, that means that they have to find a job right away and then pay that debt off, because with the debt, it's hurting people, it's hurting families, because with the debt they don't buy things like cars or houses anymore, and that's hurting the economy. And without that revenue, it's going to take a while for the economy to recover from that.
According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, student loan debt in the United States lies between $902 billion and $1.3 trillion, with the average student at a 4-year public university spending $20,000 per semester. Families scrape by sending their child to college. As students, we feel small. We feel as if the system is in place and there's nothing we can do about it. But really, we can do so very much. But we choose not to. In the 2012 elections, the 18 to 24-year age range had a turnout of 38%. Of the 32 million of us, less than half had their voice heard at the election booth. With 21% of 18 to 29-year-olds listing college expenses and loans as their number one concern, very few politicians listened to them when the 45 million 50 to 65-year-olds came out to the booths asking for healthcare changes. The best way to have more money in the federal budget given to education is to vote for your Congress representative and the president, seeing as if they make it. The 2 representatives in the outlying districts of Moraine are Bobby L. Rush in the Illinois 1st District and Daniel Lipinski in the 3rd District, both of which have consistently voted yes for education reform, diverting more money to the overall student debt forgiveness, lowering tuition, and setting more money aside for federal grants, such as in 2009's the Student Aid Program Modifications Bill. Along with Obama's American College Promises, which proposes free community college and voting, free community college, and voting in representatives that see benefits of free college, the landscape could be changed in just a few years. In addition to these, I also recommend taking a look at Bernie Sanders in the 2016 presidential election. He is proposing a $47 billion per year bill to eliminate undergrad tuition and fees at public universities, dividing the responsibility of paying for college between the states and the federal government. The money would be spent on academic opportunities, hiring of new faculty, and to help professors develop professionally. None of the funding may go to administrative salaries, merit-based financial aid, or the construction of non-academic buildings like stadiums and student centers.
Other ways to lower the cost of college is to look for scholarships. There are thousands of scholarships offered by schools, employees, individuals, private companies, and nonprofit organizations. And most colleges and universities offer merit or non-need-based scholarships to academically talented students. Students should check with each school in which they are interested for the criteria for merit scholarships. Also, the National Merit Scholarships Program there are also many non-merit-based scholarship students offered that students aren't always aware of, such as for being left-handed, and all you have to do is just look for these scholarships.
Woo! Woo!
Keep track of all the great questions you want to ask one another. We'll hit those when we're done with the presentations.
Do we have to use a microphone, or can people hear us without it?
Please do, because it's for the recording. Thanks. You got to turn it on.
Take a second for it to turn on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Motez Mansour. These are my fellow colleagues, Marcus and Jackson. Go ahead, guys. Wave to the camera. Don't be shy.
Hello, everybody.
Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about free college education, how it is possible, and how you guys could help make it possible. Being full-time students at a college such as Moraine Valley could cost up to $8,000 in tuition alone a year. Majority of college students attend community colleges for at least 2 years, which could total up to $16,000 in debt. The government should be able to pay for all of it, which would mean that the federal government should pay 2/3, while the state government compensates for the final third. Estimates of 2020 show that at least 30% of jobs will require some college education, and at the moment now, as of 2015, it is 7.7%. So that's a huge increase. Knowing that would be a huge disgrace for so many students that can't afford a higher education, which would leave them jobless in 2020. This is why we're in total support of Obama's push for America's College Promise, which is an initiative to make 2 years of community college completely free. In the past 8 months, states as Oregon and Minnesota have passed statewide programs that allow community college to be free for everyone.
With that being said, here are the colleges that are giving the free tuition. One is the College of the Ozarks with a value of $18,100 per year. Another is the U.S. Air Force with a value of $100,000 per year. The Webb Institute with $44,000 per year. The Macaulay Honors College with $6,330 per year for in-state students only, and the Barclay College with a value of $11,000 per year.
Now I know what y'all thinking. Why should I care? The average college student comes out of college at $9,000 in debt, making them think that whether or not they should have even gone to college at all. Now I know you're thinking, like, what can you do? Stop treating college debt as a personal issue. Come together and speak your mind to the government. The government has expanded. The government will listen. The government has expanded Pell Grants to making more money and making it more open for students. The state of Tennessee has free community college for the entire state, no tuition, no fees. Chicago, Illinois has the Star Scholarship, where if you've gone to a CPS high school and have a 3.0 GPA, you can go to any of the CCC colleges for free. Now, you're thinking, like, how can I speak to the government? Well, there's a website online called whitehouse.gov where you can actually go and speak out. Thank you.
Gentlemen, Marina's group. Make sure you have a mic.
Am I going to do?
Good evening, guys. Hello, hello. All right. So my name is Andy Iniguez, and this is my group. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves one by one.
I'm Erica.
I'm Liv.
I'm Obrina.
Nice, your mic. I'm Emiliano.
All right, guys. So today we're gonna be talking about higher education and exactly to what extent we are gonna be going to in our educational careers, pursuing that and attaining that. So I have a general question for the audience, but to make it more like interpersonal, I kind of just want to, if one of you don't mind answering my question, I think I kind of want to ask Matt just because he's so outgoing and I know him. So Matt, when you started your college experience, what do you want to be? You want to be an explorer? Okay, did you always have that pursuit? You did? That's good, that's good. Do you think you're going to stay with that like throughout your educational career? That's awesome, man. I hope you do. Well, good luck. All right, guys. Well, see, the thing is that a lot of people that go to college, we all have this intent to better ourselves, to become better human beings and civilized human beings. Make money, right? Because money is the ultimate motive. Well, the thing is, like, the real sad thing about this world is that our opportunities and our pursuits and our passions are being limited just because the cost of higher education. Higher education is becoming so immense that a lot of us are forfeiting our passions just because of the price that we see on the ticket. So, one thing that we want to do is we want to lower our tuition, because if there's one thing that I've heard throughout all of these presentations, it's the word opportunity. Opportunity is a great thing. It's a thing that helps us better ourselves. And in college, we want opportunity. We want jobs after college. But how are we going to go and get that opportunity if we're going for jobs that are going to put us in the immense amount of debt, hundreds and thousands of dollars after college is over, and do we really have a great success rate of getting a job afterwards? I don't know. It's scary. This is what scares a lot of students. I want to take a moment right now just to talk about a young man named Jason Odin. So this guy, he was a student at Illinois State University. It just happened two years ago, roughly, and you guys can find this on the Huffington Post. This is where I was informed about this story. So basically what Jason was he was become a biochemist. He was in efforts to become one. They make a lot of money, But after his 2 years there, he was already in $100,000 of debt, and he became very, very physically stressed. Basically, one night, Jason left his house. He was feeling upset. His mom had told him, or he had told his mom, I'm sorry. And he wasn't found that night. His mom got worried, and he started to try to go and look for him. So he went to the school. He asked his professors to see if he can try to help him find him, places he might be or anything. Unfortunately, Jason was found in the lab that he done a lot of work in. He was found on the floor, and he actually had committed, his, what is it called, an autopsy? Yeah, it was ruled out a suicide. Jason was very physically stressed, mentally stressed, emotionally stressed, so much that he decided to commit suicide just because of the amount of debt that he was going to be in after his educational experience. So, I don't want to make this a pity party or anything, but this story is just to emphasize the stress that it puts on students throughout their educational career if they haven't finished it already. So we want people like Jason to not feel this amount of stress. We want them to have opportunity, and we want them to seek the ambition and power to fully go throughout their educational career. So, basically our idea in all of this, and our efforts in all of this, is to lower the cost of tuition. And in ways that we're going to do that, we're going to go over that. And that's why I'm going to pass it to my next person.
At Moraine Valley, the cost to attend is $3,996 annually. The cost to attend Columbia College is $23,594,000. That's triple the amount just to attend. So just think about that if you guys plan on going to any other schools after this two-year institution. Moraine Valley understands the financial strains that attending higher education can bring. The school provides financial aid, scholarships, and many work-study programs to help along to assist you with your schooling. And this information was found on Moraine Valley's website.
The cost of college has jumped 47% in the past 10 years. It's at an all-time high. We spend a lot of money, I think, in places we don't particularly need to. We spend it on luxury amenities, and I feel like college spends its money more on the look and not the education. They want to be a cooler college. They want everyone to come in because they have 50 pools and a million different basketball hoops. We could petition these luxury amenities or at least shed light on all this unnecessary spending.
There's many things that schools do to lower the cost of tuition. And for example, out-of-state schools cost more. So one little fact is that some schools will actually match in-state costs for our out-of-state students, especially if their major isn't offered at schools in their own state. So basically all you would really have to do is talk to your financial aid office and see what schools that would match. And then some colleges even offer discounts to students if you recruit another student to your school. And some things that we can do to lower our own personal costs of tuition is start off at a community college and take your general eds. You can, when you're buying textbooks, you can rent them or sell them back online. You can apply for scholarships because there's basically a scholarship for anything.
Okay, so as you guys saw, we gave our reasons why we want to lower the tuition. And as Andy brought up the story of Jason, how he killed himself because he went to school and had debt, that the only way he could find his salvation is just to kill himself. And I don't think anyone should really go through that. And so we looked at why we're here at Moraine. Why did we choose to go to Moraine? And Erica did bring up some good points about how it's roughly around $3,000, $4,000 a year compared to Columbia, which is like $23,000, you said? Yeah, so, I mean, you could do the math. That's a lot of money. And Abrina brought up Olivia, she brought up why colleges don't need all these luxury items. You know, they got like all these crazy basketball courts, rock climbing walls, all this stuff. And really, you really don't need all that. And also, Business 101, Economics 101, if you lower college tuition, a lot of students are going to be going to your college, and other colleges are going to be seeing that, like, why are all our students missing? That's because they're going to go to the lower cost. And so it's going to create a competition in the market to lower the price for all colleges. So that's like another big reason why we should do that. And Abrina, she brought up how what we can do to stand up to this. And also another reason is, like I think Tyler said, that we could go to our officials in the district and also our senator. And we have 2 senators in the state. And the 2 senators in each state go to Washington, D.C., and if you don't know what's in Washington, D.C., it's the House and the Congress, and that's what makes the rules. So you can actually go to Springfield, Illinois, or send your senator letters and talk about what you want and what you want them to represent to you. So you can do that stuff. So, yes, that's it. Thank you.
Do you guys feel a little bit better now that you did your talk? There was a lot of nerves, I think, going into this thing, so hopefully you feel relieved. But now is our Q&A time, right? So you all, I mean, we've been talking about these things all semester long in various forms, right? And you've been preparing for these talks, and you've been writing and doing a lot of research. So you're not new to the conversation. However, you all haven't heard one another's complete presentations until today. So is there any questions that you would like to ask of one another or of the whole group to have a little bit of conversation around some of these issues before we cut loose? You know, it would be good if we could. You have a question, comments? Anybody? Based on anything you've heard from the groups today, or some of these broad questions, which you, of course, have been struggling with dealing with all semester long that I've written on the board.
It's not really a question. It's more of just like an observation. I kind of think, correct me if I'm wrong, but no one really did a presentation based off of free tuition, right? Did you? Just community college? Yeah. Okay, I just thought it was like kind of cool. Well, not cool, not really cool, but just like unique how we all thought the same thing, that free tuition for a university, not a community college, because that would be a good idea. But no one chose free tuition as far as universities are concerned, because it's kind of not idealistic. It kind of sounds like radical for that to actually occur. So I don't know, like I would have liked to have seen a presentation and the ideas and the call to actions that would have occurred for a free tuition call, just for universities.
Didn't one of you guys, you brushed on that a little bit. You want to respond?
I talked about Bernie Sanders has a proposed educational bill it'll give free 4 years to public institutions, and the money's going to be split. It's 2/3 federal government, 1/3 state government, and they'll provide a free 4-year education at any public university in America to any student. None of the money can go towards BS. I guess none of it can go towards stadiums and luxury amenities and like 50 swimming pools and jacuzzis.
Thank you. So I understand that Bernie Sanders wants free public university education. However, are you also aware of the fact that many state schools and universities are actually looking at becoming private institutions as a counteract to this?
Your figures on that?
Sorry?
Do you have any figures on that? Do you have any
Figures,
just in more information?
I have an article that I'd be more than happy to email you if you want to talk to me after class.
You don't got to do that.
But, okay. A lot of actually the state schools are trying to transition from public to private institutions because they want to still be able to charge for what they're worth, and they don't feel that free tuition is a realistic or a reasonable goal to shoot for.
Well, it's one of those things where if you have to, at the end of the day, a university is a business and it's ran like a business. It shouldn't be, but it is. That's just a fact. And it's one of those things where if you have the option to go to a publicly funded, very good 4-year institution that you have to pay none or very little out of pocket, why would you choose to go to a private institution where you have to pay even more money than you're probably going to have to pay now?
Right. That was actually going to be my next question. Do you know of any public schools that are not state schools?
How do you mean?
Like, are there public colleges that are not like state schools? I mean, I don't know how else to ask that.
I just don't know what you mean.
Okay.
So they're
I don't really know how to
publicly
rephrase.
funded schools that are not funded by the state but only by the federal government. Is that?
Well, no. If they're funded by federal government, doesn't that make them the state schools?
Well, state schools are partially funded by the state in which they are. Like University of Illinois is funded in part by Illinois, right?
Okay. All right.
They get. I'm not by any means. I'm not an expert, but they get federal funding as well as state funding.
Okay, I'll have to recheck that article, but I'm pretty sure they said any state schools that were receiving federal funding were looking at becoming privatized.
See that happen.
So, in that case, how exactly would Bernie Sanders' law come into play?
It will affect any public 4-year institution in the country that decides to go along with it. If you don't decide to go along with it, they're still going to charge what they charge. They're still going to run themselves like a business. And if you decide that you want to go to the school that's run like a business, that's fine. It's a free country. Do what you want.
Let's keep it cordial. I feel a tone. I'm curious to know more about this this idea of running schools like businesses. This is something that a lot of people are talking about, particularly with respect to students being treated like customers. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do you guys feel like you're customers to Moraine Valley? And do you think that you should have all kind of the the expected rights and privileges that comes with being a customer or a consumer of a service when you're a student at a institution of higher learning? That's kind of like the issue. What do you guys think on that? Anybody?
I feel like maybe they want you to feel like that, but in actuality, you're not really valued at all. Probably. That's what I
feel like. What exactly? What do you mean?
Like you the customer are buying into a college, and that college wants you to think that you're special and valued, but to them you're just a number or just a dollar sign coming in.
So are you kind of saying that you wish the college or any college would treat you more like a customer because that's a good thing?
No.
Oh, okay. Less like a customer because
like
that's a good thing?
Like a student who wants to learn and actually is going there for what they're paying for and not just, money. So.
Referring to irresponsible spending in other non-academic areas?
As well as how much tuition is just in general. Okay. I mean, like in other countries, you could go for free and,
Okay.
It is possible. And I feel like education is a human right just as much as breathing air and drinking water is, that everyone should have that. And education shouldn't have a certain price on it, yeah. So.
Jackson?
You said earlier that in other countries that you can go to school for free. Where?
Germany.
Finland, Sweden.
There you go.
They all have free college?
Yes, sir.
There's no twist to it at all?
No, unless you pay for housing on the campus.
You have research behind that?
Yeah, here you go.
Oh my God. You have to pay for your room, and they just take care of your education. Occasionally you have to buy books, but I'm not 100% certain. But
it's not free.
The classes are free. The classes are the bulk of the spending. Like
the class, that's what holds your education is the class. So it's free.
But you still have to pay for those books. You can't learn anything if you don't have any books.
Well, yeah, you can.
You have more money to spend on books because you don't have to spend it on classes.
But it's still not completely free, though.
The education is free.
You're paying the books, not the education.
Yeah, actually. Test. Okay. My mic is actually a little bit quiet, but so I know that in Germany, for example, taxpayers do eat up the costs. However, there is actually a significant twist to the educational system. Granted, we're Americans. If they approve of us, we can go over there, and like you said, we can get our college paid for. We just got to pay for a place to live, food, and for our books. However, their educational system, if you're a citizen of Germany, you go through a very long and kind of tedious screening process. So throughout grade school, you're constantly being assessed and analyzed. And then there's kind of a split off when they start to go into high school. You have the people that are showing promise, people that they want to start, investing in. Those go to a wholly separate school. The others kind of just, they go through schools and stuff that really more so prepares them for work in the trades. The people that are separated, then they go off into college, and yeah, they get their school for free. They can do whatever they want. And at the end, everyone gets their training, whether it's in schooling or for the trades. Everyone gets that paid for. They all get a job out of it, but they don't get to choose what they want. If they don't make the cut, then they lose their say-so. Here, yes, we do have to pay for school, but no one can tell us we can't do that. We have the means to go and acquire our resources and, choose our future. So I just want to point out that there is a trade-off for the whole free education system if it's on taxpayer dollars.
I feel like I actually heard of that before, but I don't know if it's actually in Germany, because I heard that when you go through school, you actually choose earlier on, I don't know what they call it over there, but to us it would be like high school. You could actually choose what you want to study in, and yeah, you just kind of stick with it. And actually, I was actually born in Germany, so I could apply for German citizenship, which I don't have dual citizenship, but I can have German citizenship. So if I did want to go to Germany and get free college, I could.
If you qualified, yeah.
So yeah, it's
No,
just
you have to make the cut, and if by all means, if you make the cut, like I would say go for it because college is expensive. But if you don't make the cut, it's just that like you can't get it for free.
Yeah, but you have to make the cut here to go to like
But you
different certain schools. It's like the same thing.
Yeah,
Except for just cost
it's
here.
not much different. I mean, you still have to have a certain GPA to get into certain schools. Some schools are very selective. I mean, it's similar here. It's not the same to a T, but at the end of the day, you're still selected from day one. You have standardized testing through grade school, through high school, and you're still always funneled, and you're still always put into kind of a box regardless of where you are.
I understand what you say, but here you don't lose the opportunity overall. I mean, you might not get into your Ivy League college, but you can join a community college. I mean that's where I am. But like, if I was in Germany, I would be in trade school right now, and I would not be able to go to a college. I would not be able to go for the job and the dream that I want. Because I mean, let's face it, I'm here. I suck at school, but like, and I don't mean that to be a rip on anybody.
No, I agree. I agree fully, brother.
But like, what I'm saying is, here I actually have a chance to work my ass off for what I want. There, I cannot do that.
Others? Are you sure? Let's keep talking if we can. We could take the conversation other ways. Part of my question that I asked a few moments ago about how many of you feel like customers to the college, and the reason I raised that question is that I think we live in this consumer society where we feel like I've got to lay money down. I should get something for it. I guess the question that sometimes it's kind of muddled in higher ed is what are students laying their money down for? I think sometimes from as a faculty, from a faculty point of view, or I can't speak for administration, but I could guess from an administration's point of view, perhaps. Or maybe there's even a bit of friction between those 2 points of view. I'm sure there are. But the idea that the student as customer is if they're buying a credential. They're buying, if you will, a grade. Like I signed up for this. I want to succeed and get my credential so that I can move on with my life. And the issue that comes up sometimes is that students, they meet a barrier that says, well, I'm not succeeding in my class, but damn it, I'm a customer. I should be getting something for what I paid for. Have you guys ever felt anything like this, or felt this sort of disconnect between, what it means to be a student versus at an institution where you're laying out a considerable amount of money versus what it means to be a customer? I mean, I'm just curious if you have thoughts on that, if anybody.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the fact is, though, the more, if I feel like a customer here, I mean, like, the more money I spend, the better quality I should be getting. I mean, like,
What does that mean, the better quality exactly, for you?
If I'm paying you hundreds, thousands of dollars, you should be giving me an A or something, though, to me when I'm the customer.
The more you pay, the better grades you should get.
Or I mean, like, the more opportunities to, like, get a passing grade. Because, I mean, like...
That's a lot different, opportunities to, right? Let's weigh in on this. Maybe somebody wants to respond to Jackson? Yeah, let's get a better mic for you, yeah.
Okay, you receive a grade on what you do in the class, basically the material, what you've learned. So that has nothing to, you put down $300 for a course, so you're telling me that he's got to pass you, even though if you wrote, I like dogs, dogs are furry. You think you feel, you're not earning anything? No, you're not earning the grade, but you also have to understand the material, and you also need to learn and gain from you can't just expect to.
You can't keep going in life if you're just going to pay for this grade and then be like, well, I should get this A, but then you're not educating yourself or paying attention to get the career that you want. So you have to still work to get where you want.
Yeah, you're not preparing yourself if you just expect to get an A. Then what is the point of being here? If everybody paid, we'd all get A's and we'd all be engineers. Why not?
Let's talk about it a little bit, beyond individual. Have you seen this kind of thing, this attitude of the customer first kind of thing across your school experience so far? I mean, whether it's you or somebody in the room, we put that aside, but just generally, Have you seen it, and do you think it's a good thing, or is there some problems you might see with that?
I kind of noticed that it's a two-way street. Does the school, to an extent, treat us as customers? Yeah, of course. But, I mean, they have to stay in business. They, to an extent, need to be looking at us as a source of money in order to keep going. On the other hand, I think that we as students also have the opportunity to find it useful sometimes to think, hey, you know, I'm paying for that. I'm entitled to this. And, I mean, there's got to be a balance because, yes, we need to be paying for the school to keep it running. No, the school doesn't need to be looking at us as dollar signs and nothing but dollar signs. But, like, the customer is not always right. I mean, we can't just get A's because we paid for them. I mean, if we did, that would defeat the entire point of school. It would just be paying for a license to go and do something. No, I feel that to an extent, yes, we are customers because we're getting what we pay for. But what we're paying for, what we're consuming, is an opportunity to do something, not just the credentials to go and do it.
Others want to respond?
Well, I was going to say to Matt, maybe I came off a bit wrong. That's not what I actually meant earlier. You see, what I was saying, like, that's if I was the customer, but I don't feel like a customer. I feel like a student. As a student, I feel like that if I'm paying you, I should get a good quality education. I mean, like...
Do you feel that
I should
here
at least
you're
get a good
not getting a
opportunity.
good quality education for what you're paying for?
Not right now, no. I was just saying. I was just saying from both sides. So if I felt like the customer, I feel like that if I'm giving you this money, I should be at least getting a decent grade. But I feel like a student, I should at least get a chance to get a decent grade, though.
You do have a chance to get a decent grade. That right now is totally up to whether or not you're willing to do the work.
I am.
Okay.
I was just saying, like, I think I gave off a bad vibe earlier, though. I mean, like, that's not what I actually meant.
Okay.
Understood. You know, I think some of the friction comes in a time of sort of falling enrollments. You know, like at a college like this one, where always as faculty, you know, in our meetings with administration, we're always hearing the message. Retention, that's the buzzword. You know, how can we retain students in our classes at our institution? How can we ensure that they completion, you know, like graduate and so forth? How can we recruit, you know, because enrollment numbers are a big deal at any institution of higher learning. But then there's that danger that, you know, like, then are we starting to think about this idea of student as customer? Well, let's make sure we're keeping them happy and hopefully in doing so, you know, retaining them. But that becomes kind of sticky because college is hard, right? So not everybody who pays their tuition, as we're hearing here, is necessarily going to get the grade or the credential that they want. Does that mean, you know, customer dissatisfaction, or a student who didn't quite accomplish what they could have or should have? I just thought I'd throw that out there. Anybody else want to comment on this student as customer versus student as student kind of topic? Did you want to? Oh. Erica, what about you? No? Okay. All right. What else? These are good things to bounce around. We heard a lot of ideas from the groups today. Does anybody have any questions for what they've heard from the other groups? If you can remember, it wasn't too long ago, but got a lot of information. Any other topics you think worth bringing up for posterity, because the audience is much larger than what we see in this room right now? Our group that talked about raising their voice, which was you guys, right? There's a voice to be raised. Anything you'd like to say? You're holding a mic. All right. Going once, twice? All right. I just wanted to say one last thing then. I wanted to congratulate you all on coming here today, facing your fears. I know many of you had varying degrees of anxiety about standing in front of what you thought could be a very large, unfamiliar audience, right? And you came anyway, and you did your thing. And even with a familiar audience, with a camera, it kind of makes it that much more nerve-wracking. And even without just standing in front of a group, it can be anxiety-provoking. So congratulations on a job well done. Thank you for sharing your ideas, and have a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend.